Hive city Vortannis, once a symbol of imperial might, lay shattered beneath a blood-red sky. Its spires, once proud and towering, now jutted into the air like broken bones. Firelight flickered through hollow windows, and smoke curled upward in slow, twisting spirals. The entire city felt strangled by silence. No marching workers, no rumbling machines, no voices praising the Emperor. Only the distant growl of destruction echoed through the ruins. Beneath the cracked stone, the ground trembled with the rhythm of something colossal moving below, its slow pulse like breathing. Then a roar ripped through the city, violent and ancient, shattering windows and sending birds spiraling away in terror. High above the smog, a Thunderhawk gunship cut through the stormy haze, blue ultramarine markings scorched and battered from battle. It descended through waves of fire and smoke, engines roaring as it settled into the ruined plaza below. When the ramp slammed open, Sergeant Thalion emerged first, clad in scar-scored Mark X armor. His steps rang with iron weight as his squad followed. Cassian carried a heavy bolter with casual strength. Raiden moved with quiet purpose. Armor stained from desperate triage. Merrick's keen eyes hunted every shifting shadow. Valkor's grip tightened on his flamethrower, while Techmarine Dorian's mechadendrites twitched at faint vibrations. The plaza was littered with wreckage. A Chimera transport lay overturned, its metal torn apart, as though ripped open by claws far stronger than any common Tyranid strain. Deep gouges scarred nearby walls, each mark impossibly massive. Cassian crouched beside a crater, fingers brushing twisted metal. "Not artillery," he muttered. "Something smashed it by hand." Merrick studied a collapsed building, tracing long slashes along the foundation. "It wasn't a swarm," he said quietly. "This was rage." Thalion's eyes locked on a trail of giant footprints, stamped into the ash-covered ground, each deep step carrying the weight of a monster. A faint whimper broke the uneasy silence. An old man stumbled from behind a shattered stall, coughing through soot and ash. Seeing the Space Marines, he collapsed to his knees, trembling uncontrollably. "It's still here," he gasped. Raiden knelt beside him, voice steady. "What beast?" The man's eyes grew distant. "The one-eyed monster. It tore soldiers apart. Fire didn't stop it. Nothing did." He pointed toward the Underhive tunnels. "It came from there, dragging bodies with it." Before more could be said, a deep tremor shuddered through the plaza, stronger and closer, showering dust from broken walls. Dorian's scanners flickered with static. "Sergeant, the interference is rising." Valkor lifted his flamethrower, sensing movement in the dark. The tremors intensified until even the fire seemed to bend away from the coming threat. A low growl slithered out from the tunnel depths, ancient, heavy, filled with hatred. Thalion raised his rifle. "Form up!" The squad took position as a blast of debris erupted from the tunnel entrance, stones spraying outward. A monstrous bellow tore through the ruins, shaking rooftops and sending echoes across the city. The old man collapsed again, screaming, "It's coming back!" Thalion signaled the advance, and the Ultramarines pushed into the dark tunnels. The air grew colder the deeper they went, as if the city itself recoiled. Flickering lights danced along the walls, illuminating pools of hissing acid. Armor fragments and torn bodies of guardsmen littered the path. These were not clean kills. Every corpse was mutilated, every wound the mark of raw fury. Merrick swallowed hard. "Only one creature does this," he whispered. Thalion answered without turning. "Old One-Eye." The tunnel widened into a massive cavern, glowing with bioluminescent slime and burning debris. The ground trembled again as a gigantic shadow stirred at the far end of the cavern. Valkor's flamethrower ignited with a burst of fire, casting long, jagged silhouettes across the walls. The shape lumbered forward, first revealing a massive claw, its chitin ridged with scars. Then the rest of the monster emerged, a towering Carnifex mutation, plates of living armor cracked but unbroken, muscles pulsing with regeneration. At its center burned a single, furious, unblinking eye. Old One-Eye stepped fully into the light, its growl shaking the cavern as it fixed its hatred upon the ultramarines before it. Old One-Eye stepped into the cavern's dim light like a walking nightmare. Its massive talons scraped across the stone floor, sending sparks dancing through the darkness. The creature's single crimson eye burned like a furnace, pulsing with raw hatred. Thick slabs of chitin plated its monstrous body, cracked and scarred from countless battles. Its breath came out as steaming gusts of acidic vapor, filling the cavern with the scent of rot and chemical death. The Marines felt the heat of that primal rage wash over them like a shockwave. The beast roared. The cavern ceiling shook violently, dust raining down in thick curtains. The sound wasn't just loud, it was alive, filled with fury centuries old. Old One-Eye charged, the ground trembling under its immense weight. Cassian was the first to fire. His heavy bolter thundered with deafening force, explosive rounds streaking across the cavern. And ripping into the Carnifex's chest, chitin shattered, black ichor spraying. But the monster didn't slow, it only roared louder. Valkor released a torrent of burning promethium, flames engulfing the Carnifex's left side. Fire rolled across its armor in waves, forcing it to stagger for a split second. That moment was all Merrick needed. The scout darted to higher ground, sprinting up a broken pillar and taking position on a rocky outcrop. His sniper rifle hissed as he fired a precise shot straight toward the creature's exposed joints. The round hit, but the wound closed within seconds, regenerating with horrifying speed. Dorian's mechadendrites vibrated. It's healing faster than expected, faster than recorded data. Raiden braced himself behind a fallen slab of stone. A direct hit to the central organ cluster might slow it. Otherwise, Old One-Eye slammed its talons into the Fey. Lore and launched itself forward. The ground cracked. Shards of rock exploded outward. Its charge was unstoppable. Cassian barely rolled out of the way before the monster crashed past him, smashing into a row of supports and reducing them to rubble. The cavern groaned overhead, loose stones falling like hail. Valkor stepped forward and blasted its face with fire. The Carnifex shrieked, swinging its massive scything talon. The blow connected. Valkor was thrown across the cavern like a rag doll, his body slamming against a wall with bone-breaking force. His armor cracked. His flamethrower clattered to the ground. "Valkor is down!" Raiden shouted as he sprinted through falling debris. Old One-Eye pivoted, its single glowing pupil tracking the apothecary's movement. With terrifying speed for something so massive, it lunged. Raiden threw himself behind a stone column just as the creature's talon cleaved. Through it, slicing the pillar clean in two. Stone collapsed around him, dust choking the air. Thalion stepped forward, Bolt rifle raised. Helios, focus fire. Push it back. The squad unleashed everything they had. Bolter rounds exploded across its torso. Merrick's sniper fire cracked against its armored skull. Dorian's servo arms steadied a plasma cutter that spat blinding blue fire. Old One-Eye shrieked as plasma tore through its side, leaving a smoking crater of melted flesh and cracked carapace. The monster staggered. For a moment, it looked vulnerable. Cassian shouted, "Now, bring it down!" They advanced together, a wall of blue armor and righteous fury. But Old One-Eye wasn't defeated. Not even close. With a violent twist of its body, it slammed its armored tail into the cavern floor. The impact sent a shockwave rippling outward. Phalion dug his boots into the dirt, but the force lifted him off his feet and hurled him back several meters. The shockwave knocked Cassian sideways. His heavy bolter slipped from his grip, clattering across the stone. Merrick fell from his perch, rolling across jagged rubble. Dorian's plasma cutter flickered. Old One-Eye surged forward again, smashing into Cassian before he could retrieve his weapon. The Marine raised his arms to block, but the Carnifex's talon carved through ceramite like flesh. Cassian roared in pain. The monster hurled him into a boulder. The stone shattered on impact. Raiden reached him seconds later, dragging Cassian to cover as ichor and blood pooled beneath the heavy bolter Marine. Cassian coughed, forcing out his words. "Don't let it get to the surface." Phalion rose from the rubble, helmet visor cracked, sparks flickering across his chest plate. He wiped blood from his lip. Their weapons couldn't kill this thing. Not fast enough. It rare. Generated too quickly. It moved too fast. It struck too hard. They needed a new approach. "Dorian!" Phalion shouted. "Weakness!" Dorian scanned rapidly, his mechadendrites twitching. His data slate filled with readings. One-Eye. The regenerative organ cluster is beneath it. A direct strike, point blank, might destabilize the entire system. Phalion tightened his grip on his rifle. "Then we force it." Old One-Eye turned its burning gaze toward him. It recognized the challenge. It charged. Phalion sprinted forward, using fallen debris for cover. The Carnifex barreled through stone and metal like nothing. Every step shook the cavern, throwing off Thalion's footing. But he kept moving. Cassian struggled to lift his broken arm, shouting, "Sergeant, don't go head on!" There was no choice. Phalion slid under the Carnifex's first swing, sparks flying as the talons scraped inches from his helmet. He fired up into its neck, point blank. Black ichor sprayed, sizzling as it hit the ground. Old One-Eye shrieked and slammed its claws downward. Phalion rolled aside. The claws punctured the stone floor where he had just been standing. Merrick appeared on the monster's flank, firing rapid precision shots at joints and tendons, forcing the beast to shift its stance. Dorian leapt onto its back, servo arms stabbing a magnetic charge into its carapace. The explosive hummed to life. Old One-Eye roared and bucked wildly, smashing into walls as it tried to shake Dorian off. The cavern's ceiling cracked overhead. Chunks of rock tumbled down, detonating! Dorian shouted as he leapt clear. The charge exploded. The Carnifex's back blew open in a spray of flesh and ichor. But the regeneration began instantly. Flesh knitting together, bones locking back into place. Not good enough. Phalion saw his opening. The explosion, they forced Old One-Eye to lower its head for a moment, its single glowing eye flickering. He sprinted. Every muscle in his body screamed from the earlier impacts, but he pushed harder. Old One Eye raised its head again, preparing to impale him. Too slow. Thalion leapt onto a fallen pillar, kicked off, and launched himself directly toward the monster's skull. He fired his last bolt round mid-air. The round hit. Old One Eye staggered. Thalion slammed into its head with all his weight and drove his combat blade straight into the burning eye. The Carnifex screamed, a scream of rage so powerful it shook the cavern like a quake. The beast thrashed. Thalion held on, but the monster wasn't dying. It was regenerating even this. Dorian yelled, "Sergeant, get clear! It's going to retaliate!" Old One Eye slammed its skull into the stone wall, crushing Thalion against it. His armor cracked, alarms blaring inside his helmet. The impact forced him to release his grip, dropping him to the floor. The Carnifex reared back, ready to bring both scything talons down on him. The Marines raced forward, but they were too far. The cavern echoed as Old One Eye struck. A thunderous crash. Dust swallowed everything. When it cleared, Thalion was gone, beneath a massive pile of rubble, his armor crushed, motionless. Old One Eye turned toward the remaining Marines, its single eye now regenerating slowly, glowing brighter with every second. They had wounded the beast, but they had also awakened its full wrath, and the battle had only begun. The cavern trembled long after Thalion's fall. Dust and rubble choked the air. Flames licked at the shattered walls, and the stench of blood and acid hung heavy. Old One Eye's roar echoed, a low, throbbing sound that seemed to vibrate through every bone. The creature paused, towering over the wreckage, its single eye burning brighter with an unholy light. Cassian struggled to his feet, arm hanging uselessly at his side. He spat blood onto the ash-covered floor. "Sergeant, we can't hold it. Not here. Not like this." Raiden dragged Valkor's unconscious form behind a fallen slab of concrete. The flamethrower specialist twitched weakly, groaning through broken teeth. "We can't," Raiden muttered, his voice trembling despite the steel in it. Merrick crouched in a narrow shadow, scanning the cavern with his sniper scope, eyes wide. "It's too fast, too strong, and it heals faster than we can damage it. We need a plan, or we all die down here." Dorian's mechadendrites twitched frantically as he checked his armor systems, sparks bursting from damaged circuits. "The charge weakened it, barely," Dorian said. "That blast only delayed it, for a few seconds. If we stay here, it will pick us off one by one." The cavern groaned under Old One Eye's weight. Stones rained from the ceiling. Acid dripped across the floor, eating into the stone. Its single eye scanned the space, glowing with hatred. Cassian staggered forward, gripping his broken bolter. "We need to pull back, get to the surface, evacuate civilians, regroup, maybe call reinforcements." Raiden shook his head grimly. "There's no time for reinforcements. And the civilians, they're trapped in the city blocks. If we delay, they're dead. The only chance they have is if we lure the monster away." Merrick's jaw tightened. "That's suicide. Even if we lure it, it'll tear through us trying to get free." Dorian examined the tunnel framework. The tunnels above, structural junctions. If we collapse them at the right moment, we can trap it. Maybe slow it enough to evacuate people. But someone must trigger the charges manually. "No automatic failsafe can hold it," Dorian added. Raiden placed a hand on Valkor's shoulder. "Then someone stays behind." Cassian clenched his teeth. "Not me. Not like this. I've got a family back on the fortress world." Dorian shook his head. It's not about families anymore. It's about survival. Merrick swallowed. Then I'll do it. I can survive longer in tunnels than any of you. No, Raiden said sharply. The one who knows the beast best, the sergeant. But Thalion was buried under the rubble. Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. Valkor stirred, flames and dust coating his armor. I'm still alive, he groaned. Don't let it get to the children. Raiden pulled him to safety. We won't. The squad moved through the collapsing cavern, dust swirling like ash from a pyre. They reached the junction tunnels, narrow corridors leading to trapped civilians. Debris and cracked walls slowed them. Old One-Eye's footsteps echoed behind them, a constant threat. Cassian looked back repeatedly, fear creeping in. It's following us! Merrick crouched beside a pillar. We split, slow it at multiple points, force it to pause. Raiden nodded. Set charges, collapse walls, create obstacles. They worked fast, adrenaline surging. Every detonator, every wire, every stone lifted was a desperate gamble. Valkor dragged himself along the wall, coughing blood. I'll cover the rear. If it reaches us, I can hold it. Maybe. Cassian steadied him. We've bought time before. We can do it again. Keep it contained until it hits the junctions. Merrick scanned the shadows. Charges set, timing must be perfect. The rumble began again. Old One-Eye burst through debris, its burning eye locking onto the squad. They moved like ghosts through smoke. Dorian climbed the wall, adjusting detonators. Cassian dragged Valkor through the corridor. The creature slammed into a wall charge. The explosion shook the tunnels, dust flooding the air. Flames roared as Old One-Eye screeched in fury. But it emerged moments later. Regeneration stitching its wounds shut like nothing happened. Cassian cursed. It's unstoppable. Valkor fired one final burst of flame. The monster shrieked, swinging a talon that crushed stone inches from him. Raiden reached the civilian tunnels. Terrified families huddled inside. Move, this way, he ordered, guiding them toward safer exits. Merrick fired precise shots from above, targeting joints to slow the monster. Sparks flew, but Old One-Eye barely reacted. Dorian's voice crackled through comms. All detonators set. Fall back. The squad retreated. Lungs burning. Wounds piling. Final detonations rocked the tunnel system. Massive stone slabs fell, sealing pathways. The Carnifex roared, smashing into the new barriers. Chitin scraped against rock as it thrashed, furious. The squad kept retreating, hearts pounding, breaths ragged. Civilians scrambled behind them, driven by terror. Smoke and flame painted the corridors in hellish light. When the echoes finally faded, they were alive. Barely. But deep beneath the rubble, Old One-Eye's single glowing eye flickered back to life, brighter than ever. It wasn't defeated, only delayed. The city still burned, civilians still suffered, and the monster was still out there, waiting, watching, preparing. And Squad Helios knew one truth. The battle was far from over. The tunnels above the ruined Hive City were silent, save for the faint rumble that echoed through the stone beneath their boots. Squad Helios moved cautiously, each step measured, each breath sharp in the dusty, acrid air. Smoke from burning buildings above seeped into the corridors, carrying the metallic stench of blood and ichor. Old One-Eye was behind them. They could feel its presence, the oppressive weight of the beast's rage, vibrating through the very ground. Its single eye glowed like molten iron, scanning, tracking, calculating. Every instinct screamed that it was coming for them. Positions, Sergeant Thalion barked, though his voice was rough with dust and exhaustion. "We hold here. If we die, we take it with us." Cassian adjusted his heavy bolter, shaking slightly from the earlier injuries, but still ready. "We've slowed it once. We can do it again." Valcor limped forward, flames sputtering weakly from his damaged weapon. "If it gets close, it dies with me." Dorian scanned the structural weaknesses of the tunnel junction. Timing is everything. One mistake, one misstep, and this place collapses on us. Or worse, it crushes the civilians. We set charges, and we bait it into the trap. The squad moved into position, setting explosive charges along the corridor. Raiden assisted Valcor to a safer wall, binding wounds with bloodied bandages. The air was thick with tension. Every creak of stone, every distant thud made hearts race. Then it came. Old One-Eye appeared from the shadows, massive, towering, unstoppable. Its claws scraped the walls. Stones splintered, showers of debris rained down, and each step reverberated through the tunnels. Its single eye burned hotter, fixed on the Ultramarines with unyielding hatred. Cassian opened fire first, the bolter thunder echoing through the narrow tunnels. Rounds struck, puncturing plates of chitin, spraying black ichor onto the walls. The creature shrieked, a sound so monstrous it felt like it could shatter bone. Valcor ignited a torrent of flame, rolling forward into the heat of battle, cutting at the creature's legs. The fire hissed as ichor sizzled against the promethium, and for a fleeting moment, Old One-Eye staggered. Merrick fired precision shots at exposed joints, aiming to slow it, aiming to create the opening they desperately needed. Dorian climbed a nearby ledge, attaching a high-voltage disruptor to a weak section of the cavern wall. Sparks arced wildly. The first blast went off. Stone shattered. Chunks of debris rained down. The creature shrieked, thrashing violently against the walls. The shockwave sent Valcor tumbling. His flamethrower sparked, damaged from the impact. Cassian dragged him to safety. "You still alive, brother?" he shouted. Valcor groaned, clutching his ribs. "Barely. Keep going." Old One-Eye roared, regaining its footing. Its talons swiped at the squad with terrifying speed. Dorian leapt aside, using mechadendrites to pull himself out of the way. Sparks flew as claws scraped along stone, crushing slabs of rock. Thalion moved forward, rifle blazing. Each shot fired into the eye had no lasting effect. Each strike seemed to slow it only momentarily. The squad coordinated as one, moving like a single organism. Bolter fire, flamethrower, plasma blasts, sniper shots, and careful manipulation of structural weaknesses. They bought precious seconds. But the monster was relentless. Valcor fired again, striking Old One-Eye squarely in the side. The creature roared, pivoting toward him. Valcor dove behind a broken pillar, coughing blood. "I'm done for. Don't stop." Cassian fired from cover, heavy bolter rounds cracking against chitin. "We hold it! We make it pay!" Old One-Eye raised itself, bringing both talons down. The shockwave destroyed part of the tunnel floor. Debris rained down. Dust filled the air, stinging eyes, choking lungs. And then, in a moment of clarity, Thalion saw it. A weakness just under the glowing eye, partially exposed by the previous explosions. If they could hit it with coordinated fire and explosives, maybe. He made a split-second decision. "Dorian, charge the primary detonator. I'll lure it into the blast." "No, Sergeant, that's suicide," Cassian shouted, but Thalion was already moving. He sprinted forward, drawing the creature's attention. ducking and weaving through falling debris. Old One-Eye followed, talons raking the walls, crushing stone, shaking the tunnels. Every swing was deadly, every step a reminder of the gulf between man and monster. "Go, now!" Thalion shouted over comms. Dorian triggered the detonator sequence. The walls trembled as explosives lined the junction. Dust and smoke swirled, filling the corridors with heat and light. Old One-Eye roared, charging headlong. Thalion leapt aside at the last moment, rolling into a shallow alcove just as the blast ignited. Fire and smoke erupted, chunks of rock flying like missiles. The monster shrieked, pain and fury mingling in its cries. It thrashed violently, attempting to escape the collapsing tunnel. Sparks from exposed conduits lit the cavern in blue and red streaks. But it was trapped, at least for now. Valkor groaned, struggling to his feet. "Did we stop it?" Raiden shook his head, gripping a bloodied knife. "We delayed it, that's all. It's still alive. It's still coming." Cassian looked at the smoke-filled tunnel, heart pounding. At least the civilians have a chance. At least for now. Then the unthinkable happened. A massive slab of rock, weakened by the explosions, collapsed. Thalion had been too close. Cassian and Raiden screamed as the sergeant was buried under the rubble. Dust and stone swallowed him, leaving nothing but silence. The squad froze. Valkor coughed violently, blood trickling down his face. "No! Thalion!" Merrick scanned frantically, but there was nothing. Just a heap of rubble where their leader had stood moments before. Raiden's hands shook as he gripped the sides of the corridor. "He bought us time. That's what we can't forget. He saved the civilians. He saved us." Cassian clenched his fists. "Then we finish this. We make sure his sacrifice wasn't in vain." Old One-Eye thrashed against the remaining debris, roaring. Its glowing eye scanned for the survivors, for the ones it had yet to crush. It had been delayed, hurt, and frustrated, but it was far from defeated. The squad knew it. They were battered, broken, and exhausted, but alive. And for the first time in hours, they felt the weight of their duty settle like steel on their shoulders. "Move out," Raiden said, voice tight but resolute. "We regroup, we plan, we fight again." He wouldn't have wanted anything less. Valkor limped forward. His heavy breaths shook his body. "Next time, we make it count. No mistakes." Merrick nodded, gripping his rifle tighter. "And next time, we make it hurt him." The squad moved cautiously through the smoke-choked tunnels. Each step a promise, each breath a reminder. Old One-Eye roared one last time, the sound reverberating through the twisting corridors, before slamming into the partially collapsed walls in frustration. The glow of its single eye faded slightly as it retreated deeper. It slipped into the shadows of the Hive City. It was not defeated. It was merely delayed. And Squad Helios, battered and broken, survived. For now. But somewhere deep beneath Vortannis, in the darkness that no torch could reach, Old One-Eye waited. Its single eye burned red, a promise of rage, death, and the battles yet to come. Squad Helios would live to fight again, but they had paid the first price, and the nightmare of Vortannis was far from over. The streets of Vortannis were a wasteland. Smoke rose in black pillars from ruined manufacturums, and fires licked the remains of shattered buildings. Shadows moved among the ruins, and the low tremor of Old One-Eye's approach vibrated through the cracked ground. Squad Helios emerged from the tunnels, battered, bleeding, but alive. Their armor was scorched, dented, streaked with blood and ash. They had lost Phalion, their sergeant, in the last engagement, and the absence of his leadership was a wound heavier than any physical injury. Cassian wiped blood from his visor, scanning the streets. The streets of Vortannis were a wasteland. Smoke rose in black pillars from ruined manufactorums, and fires licked the remains of shattered buildings. Shadows moved among the ruins, and the low tremor of Old One-Eye's approach vibrated through the cracked ground. Squad Helios emerged from the tunnels, battered, bleeding, but alive. Their armor was scorched, dented, streaked with blood and ash. They had lost Phalion, their sergeant, in the last engagement, and the absence of his leadership was a wound heavier than any physical injury. Cassian wiped blood from his visor, scanning the streets. Dorian's mechadendrites flexed as he ran diagnostics on explosives and plasma traps rigged along the streets. Everything is set. If we can channel it toward the central junction, the traps should contain it, or maybe even kill it. But we can't afford mistakes. The ground quaked violently. Dust rose like clouds from cracked asphalt. Old One-Eye's monstrous shadow appeared in the distance, its single glowing eye scanning the ruins. Cassian gritted his teeth. "We go now." "Move out." The squad split strategically. Dorian triggered remote detonators to collapse smaller streets, funneling the beast toward the pre-rigged kill zone. Palkor ignited flames along lateral routes, cutting off escape and forcing Old One-Eye forward. The creature roared in frustration, talons slamming into the pavement, sending shockwaves through the rubble. Merrick fired precision shots and exposed joints, hitting nerve clusters beneath the chitin plating. The beast staggered slightly, but regenerated instantly. Sparks and black ichor sprayed from wounds as its eye burned brighter. Cassian led the charge, bolter blazing. Each round hit with explosive force, ripping chunks from the armored body. Flames from Valkor's weapon seared its legs, forcing it to pivot awkwardly to avoid the heat. Old One-Eye roared again and lunged. Its talons carved paths through collapsed buildings, tearing steel and concrete as if paper. The squad dodged, rolled, and fired. Each impact slowed it only slightly. Then, the first civilians appeared, streaming from hiding places in the northern sector, screams carried by the wind. Raiden ran forward, shepherding them behind rubble barricades. Old One-Eye spotted them, its roar chilling the marrow. It surged toward the group. Valkor screamed, igniting the final surge of Prometheum. Flames engulfed the street, forcing the monster to pivot. Merrick's sniper fire hit exposed joints, guiding it to the trap zone. Cassian fired continuously, cutting off escape paths. The squad moved as one. Dorian activated the final traps, plasma mines and explosive charges along the central junction. Smoke, fire, and ozone thickened the air. Old One-Eye roared, thrashing violently, sensing the trap. Its talons struck the pavement, cracking stone, sending sparks flying. Cassian glanced back. "It's almost there. Everyone in position." Then Old One-Eye smashed the barricade. The first plasma mine detonated, exploding against its armored flank. Sparks and molten chitin sprayed outward. The creature screamed, throwing a nearby wall into the air. Valkor advanced, flames igniting its side. Old One-Eye twisted violently, swinging its tail, destroying everything within reach. Valkor leapt aside, fire scorching stone behind him. Cassian fired repeatedly, bolts hammering against the creature. Merrick's sniper shots found exposed nerve clusters in the joints, slowing it. Dorian triggered the final chain of explosives, funneling it deeper into the junction. Old One Eye bellowed, its single eye glowing brighter than ever. It charged, talons poised to crush the squad. Valkor screamed, spraying flames at its face, forcing it to stagger. Then a massive piece of rubble, weakened by blasts, began to collapse directly onto the monster. Cassian shouted, "Move!" Raiden realized what had to be done. "I'll hold it. Cover the civilians." "No," Cassian yelled. Raiden didn't wait. He sprinted forward, drawing the beast's attention. Bolter fire tore into him as he sprinted, using his body as a lure. Old One Eye pivoted, roaring in rage, chasing him directly into the collapsing section. Explosives detonated. Fire, stone, and debris exploded outward. Old One Eye screeched, thrashing wildly, its glowing eye blinding in fury. The collapse pinned it temporarily beneath rubble and twisted metal. Raiden's body was battered, armor scorched, blood streaming from multiple wounds. He gasped, barely moving. Valkor and Cassian rushed to drag him to safety, while Merrick provided covering fire, taking shots at the monster's exposed joints. The trap worked, but at a cost. Old One Eye thrashed beneath rubble, every strike tearing stone and metal. Sparks flew as claws smashed weakened beams. The monster was alive, but immobilized temporarily. Cassian turned to the squad. "We've got a few minutes to finish it." Valkor ignited the last flames, forcing the creature to rear up, exposing the glowing central eye. Cassian fired precision bolter rounds, while Dorian armed the final plasma charge at point-blank range. Merrick's sniper shot hit a nerve cluster in the talon, causing the creature to stumble forward. Dorian detonated the charge. The explosion ripped through the junction. Fire, plasma, and molten rock engulfed the monster. Old One Eye screamed, a deafening roar of rage and pain. The single eye flickered, dimming slightly as regeneration slowed, weakened by the combined assault. Cassian, Valkor, Dorian, and Merrick stood among debris, battered, bloodied, but alive. Civilians rushed through safe corridors, finally free from terror. But the victory came at a cost. Raiden lay motionless beneath a slab of rubble, respirator crushed, armor pierced. Cassian and Valkor scrambled to free him. "He sacrificed himself," Cassian said, voice tight with grief. "He drew it in so the rest of us, so the civilians, could survive." Merrick's hands shook as he reloaded. "It worked, for now, but it's still out there. It will heal. It will return." The squad limped through the ruins, carrying injured where they could, tending wounds as best as possible. Smoke and fire still choked the streets. Vortannis was a graveyard, but at least some survived. Cassian stopped, looking back at the rubble-strewn junction. Old One Eye's eye flickered beneath debris. It was trapped temporarily, but it would rise again. The thought settled in their hearts like a stone. The war was far from over. Valkor rested a hand on Cassian's shoulder. "We survived this, but next time we finish it, or die trying." Merrick nodded, scanning ruins. "We learned its patterns. We know its weaknesses now. Next time, we plan better, hit harder. No mercy, no hesitation." Cassian clenched his fists, gazing at the horizon, where smoke and fire painted the sky red. "We fight. We avenge. For Thalion. For Raiden. For the civilians. And if it takes every last one of us, we end it." The squad moved onward through the twisted ruins, each step a mixture of exhaustion and grim determination. Behind them, Old One-Eye thrashed in the debris, the single glowing eye burning brighter with hatred, waiting, regenerating, preparing for the next clash. The battle for Vortannis had been won. The war against Old One-Eye had only just begun. The morning sun barely pierced the choking smoke above Vortannis. The city was a scarred husk of its former self, its streets lined with shattered buildings, rubble, and scorched earth. Fires still burned in pockets across the northern districts, casting flickering shadows on twisted manufactorums. The city's heart beat faintly, but devastation was undeniable. Squad Helios regrouped in the remnants of a partially standing hab block. Dust coated their armor, burns streaked ceramite, and blood mingled with grime. Every member carried the weight of the last battle. Thalion gone, Raiden lost to his heroic sacrifice. Civilians saved by sheer luck and timing. Cassian sat against the broken wall, heavy bolter resting across his lap. We're alive, but barely. The city, the civilians, the cost. He trailed off, gripping the weapon tighter. Valkor limped forward, flamethrower strapped to his back. Sparks flickered from damaged circuits, but he remained defiant. We've slowed it, trapped it, and saved some lives. That's more than anyone else could have done. Merrick leaned against rubble, sniper rifle in hand, scanning the surrounding ruins. Save them, but it's still alive. Old One-Eye is healing, regrouping. By tomorrow, it will be stronger than ever. Dorian adjusted his mechadendrites, running rapid diagnostics on weapons and remaining explosives. We know its patterns now. We've seen how it reacts, how fast it regenerates, and the areas it considers weak. If we prepare carefully, we might finally end this, but we need a plan. Cassian finally looked up, eyes burning with determination. Then we make a plan. We don't charge in blindly like before. We hit hard, hit smart, and finish it. The squad moved deeper into the ruins, using debris and collapsed structures as cover, seeking vantage points to observe the monster, analyze terrain, and strategize. Merrick climbed to the top of a half-standing manufactorum, sniper rifle scanning shadowed alleys and shattered streets. There, he said, pointing to the junction where the monster had been trapped. Its lair, or at least the area it's using as a base while regenerating. We can't approach it directly. We'll have to use traps, indirect fire, and precise strikes to weaken it before the final assault. Valkor checked the flamethrower. I've got fuel for one more sustained attack. If we coordinate with explosives and plasma, we can drive it into the kill zone. Dorian tapped the datapad, overlaying schematics. We'll use the upper streets to funnel it. Fire along lateral paths, collapse structures selectively, force it toward traps. Precision, timing, coordination. If we miscalculate, everyone dies. Cassian clenched his fist. Then we don't miscalculate. Over the next few hours, the squad worked tirelessly. Every damaged weapon repaired, every charge meticulously placed. Rubble arranged to funnel the creature. Fire traps along strategic routes, sniper positions established for overwatch. As they worked, more survivors were encountered, Imperial Guard remnants and civilians. Raiden gave medical aid, patched wounds, and calmed terrified children. Valkor helped move supplies. Cassian and Merrick fortified positions. The tension was palpable. Every shadow, every distant tremor set nerves on edge. The city felt alive but malevolent, as if sensing the coming battle. By midday, the plan was set. Squad Helios would lure Old One-Eye through traps into the central kill zone. Flamethrowers, explosives, sniper fire, and plasma charges would strike simultaneously. But there was an unspoken understanding. Not all might survive. Cassian reviewed the plan. Split into two groups. Group A, myself and Valcor, lure it into traps. Group B, Merrick and Dorian, provide overwatch and fire from flanks. Timing is critical. Hit detonators in sequence. Target joints, exposed areas, and ensure it can't escape. Merrick nodded. We've got sniper lines. If it moves too quickly, adjust fire. Focus on talons and head. It's slow to react to indirect fire. Valcor spat, igniting a small flame burst. One shot at maximum impact. One wrong move. It crushes us. Dorian's mechadendrites adjusted detonator wires, humming with power. All systems functional. Timing is everything. Miss once, and we lose everything. The squad moved into position as the sun dipped. Shadows lengthened across ruined streets. The air was hot, heavy with smoke, metallic and acrid. Every step measured, every breath cautious. Then the ground trembled. Old One-Eye emerged from the shadows, regenerating, more terrifying than before. Cassian motioned to Valcor. Now, draw it in. Valcor ignited the flamethrower, sending fire across the lateral path. Old One-Eye roared, pivoting to chase him. The ground quaked with every step, but the monster funneled perfectly toward the kill zone. Merrick fired sniper rounds into exposed joints. Dorian triggered minor explosions to guide movement. The creature stumbled, claws smashing walls, but squad preparations held. Cassian and Valcor led it deeper into the trap. The monster's rage was palpable. Its eye blazed, talons tearing debris, ichor and smoke spraying. Then came the final phase. Cassian motioned to Valcor. Now, draw it in. Valcor ignited the flamethrower, sending fire across the lateral path. Old One-Eye roared, pivoting to chase him. The ground quaked with every step, but the monster funneled perfectly toward the kill zone. Merrick fired sniper rounds into exposed joints. Dorian triggered minor explosions to guide movement. The creature stumbled, claws smashing walls, but squad preparations held. Cassian and Valcor led it deeper into the trap. The monster's rage was palpable. Its eye blazed, talons tearing debris, ichor and smoke spraying. Then came the final phase. Dorian activated the main charge sequence. Massive explosions tore through the kill zone. Stone, metal, fire, and plasma combined in a maelstrom. Old One-Eye shrieked in rage, pinned momentarily beneath collapsing structures. Valcor released a final stream of flames, igniting its side, while Cassian fired into exposed joints and nerve clusters. Merrick's sniper fire struck true, each bullet tearing regenerating tissue. Old One-Eye thrashed violently, smoke and sparks flying. Its massive body pinned it further, unable to escape the coordinated trap. Its single eye glowed fiercely, then slowly dimmed under the combined assault. The squad held their positions, fire and weapons relentless. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as the monster writhed beneath the collapsing cityscape. Finally, with a deafening final scream, Old One-Eye collapsed, crushed under rubble and shattered stone, smoke rising from its charred body. The tunnels shook one last time before silence fell across the streets. Squad Helios staggered from cover, battered and bloodied, but victorious. The city was a ruin, but Old One-Eye was dead. The threat extinguished, for now. Cassian lowered his weapon. Valcor slumped. Merrick checked sniper lines. Dorian confirmed detonators. They were alive, but had lost comrades. Raiden's voice was quiet but firm. We did it. The civilians, they're safe. Cassian nodded. Yes, for now. But this city, this war, we've only survived, not forgotten, not ended. As night fell over ruined Vortannis, Squad Helios gathered, looking at the darkened horizon. Smoke rose from the shattered skyline, but somewhere deep in the ruins, the memory of Old One-Eye lingered, a warning that the galaxy's monsters were never truly gone. The squad moved silently, battered but resolute. Survivors, warriors, hardened by battle, scarred by loss, ready to face whatever horrors the universe sent next. And in that silence, beneath the ash and ruin, they swore one vow. They would fight, endure, and protect the Imperium, no matter the cost. The first rays of sunlight pierced the smoke-choked sky over Vortannis, illuminating a city forever changed. Buildings that had once towered proudly now lay shattered, their steel skeletons jutting into the sky like the bones of some fallen giant. Fires still burned in pockets, but the streets were quiet at last. The terror of Old One-Eye was gone. Squad Helios moved cautiously through the ruins, armor battered, weapons scorched, bodies bruised and bleeding. Every step through the city was a reminder of battles fought and comrades lost. Thalion and Raiden's absence weighed heavy in their hearts. Their sacrifices had saved countless lives, but the price had been steep. Cassian's visor reflected the morning light as he surveyed the devastation. "It's over, for now," he murmured, his voice rough from dust and exhaustion. "The monster is dead, but look at what it left behind." Valcor limped beside him, flamethrower strapped across his back. Sparks flickered from exposed circuits, but his eyes were steady. "We survived. The civilians survived. That's what matters. Everything else," he gestured at the ruins, "can be rebuilt." Merrick climbed atop a pile of rubble, sniper rifle in hand, scanning the horizon for any remaining threats. It's quiet. Too quiet. But Old One-Eye is gone. For now. Its body burned, crushed. Nothing left to rise again. Dorian's mechadendrites flexed as he checked the remaining explosives and traps. The kill zone held perfectly. Every calculation, every placement, it worked. But we paid dearly. We can't ignore the losses, the scars, the trauma. The squad reached the northern sector where civilians had been hiding. Families emerged from hiding places, faces pale but alive, children clinging to their parents. Relief was evident, but the weight of the destruction hung over them. Cassian stepped forward, raising his hand. "You're safe. The monster is gone. Go home. Rebuild. We've held the line, but you must survive now." The civilians nodded, eyes wide with gratitude and lingering fear. Some whispered prayers. Others embraced loved ones long separated by chaos. Squad Helios remained, silent guardians, watching over the survivors until they were far enough to be safe. As the sun climbed higher, the squad regrouped in the center of the ruined city. Each bore physical and emotional wounds, but their resolve remained unbroken. Cassian spoke first, voice steady but heavy. "We've seen the cost of battle. We've seen what monsters like Old One-Eye can do. And we've survived. That counts for something." Valcor rested against a broken wall, sparks flying from his damaged flamethrower. "Survived, yes, but the scars, they don't heal so easily." Merrick nodded silently, scanning the rubble one last time. We know its weaknesses now. We know how it reacts. This knowledge, it will save lives in the future. But the galaxy, the Imperium, is full of monsters like this, and there will always be more. Dorian flexed his mechadendrites, dust falling from his worn armor. We've proven that strategy, planning, and coordination can overcome even the deadliest threats. But every victory comes with a price. We must remember that. We honor those we've lost by surviving and continuing the fight. Cassian looked to the horizon, eyes narrowing against the rising sun. Phalion, Raiden, you gave your lives so that others could live. We won't forget. We carry your memory forward in every mission, every battle. We fight for them and for the Imperium. The squad moved to inspect the final resting place of Old One-Eye. Its charred body lay crushed beneath rubble, yet its sheer size and menace were still apparent even in death. The single glowing eye, once a beacon of terror, was now dark, forever extinguished. Merrick knelt beside the fallen monster. It's over, for now. But the galaxy will always breed new horrors. We can't become complacent. We can't forget what we faced here. Cassian nodded, and we won't. Every city, every hive world, monsters lurk in the darkness. But we've proven that courage, strategy, and sacrifice can turn the tide. The squad began moving through the streets, guiding survivors toward temporary shelters. Children clung to parents. Elders limped alongside soldiers who had become their protectors in a nightmare they never expected. Squad Helios led them, a living shield between humanity and the horrors that waited in the shadows. Valkor glanced back one last time at the ruined junction. Sparks from burned structures and molten ichor glimmered in the sunlight. "It's strange," he said softly. "All that death, and yet some life remains. We saved them. That's worth something." Cassian placed a hand on Valkor's shoulder. "Worth everything, and worth the sacrifices we made. We keep moving. We keep fighting." As they led the survivors out of the city, a distant tremor shook the ground. The squad froze, weapons at the ready. But it was only the shifting rubble of destroyed buildings settling in the aftermath. The memory of Old One-Eye lingered in every shadow, every flicker of dust, every scream that echoed in the ruined streets. Merrick raised his rifle. "Let's hope that was the last of it. But we know better. The galaxy doesn't rest, and neither can we." Dorian adjusted his mechadendrites, nodding. "We've learned, we've survived, and we've fought. That knowledge, that experience, will save lives next time. If another monster rises, we'll be ready." Cassian led the squad to higher ground, overlooking the city. Fires still burned. Smoke drifted across the skyline, and survivors moved towards safety. The battle had ended, but the scars remained, both on the city and within the squad. Cassian exhaled, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. Vortannis stands, for now, and we stand with it. The Imperium survives because people like us fight, and because we remember the cost of failure. Valkor nodded, sparks flickering from this flamethrower as he surveyed the horizon. We survived, and we honor those who didn't. That's how we continue. That's how we endure. The morning sun barely pierced the choking smoke above Vortannis. The city was a scarred husk of its former self, its streets lined with shattered buildings, rubble, and scorched earth. Fires still burned in pockets across the northern districts, casting flickering shadows on twisted manufactorums. The city's heart beat faintly, but devastation was undeniable. Squad Helios regrouped in the remnants of a partially standing hab block. Dust coated their armor, burns streaked ceramite, and blood mingled with grime. Every member carried the weight of the last battle. Thalion gone, Raiden lost to his heroic sacrifice. Civilians saved by sheer luck and timing. Merrick looked at the darkened horizon, the rising sun casting long shadows over the ruined city. The monster is dead. The threat has passed, but the memory remains, and the lessons remain. We'll carry them into the next fight, always. Dorian flexed one final time, eyes scanning the horizon. Old One Eye may be gone, but its legacy, its terror, its challenge will never be forgotten. And neither will our courage, our sacrifice, or our duty to the Imperium. Cassian turned to his squad, battered, bloodied, but unbroken. We survived, we endured, and the Imperium will survive because of us, always. Together, Squad Helios stood atop the ruins of Vortannis, watching the smoke rise and the sun climb higher. The city was scarred, the streets haunted, and the memory of Old One Eye lingered. But humanity endured, the Imperium endured, and the sacrifices of those who fell would not be forgotten. In the distance, the ruins glimmered under the rising sun, a testament to courage, sacrifice, and the enduring will to survive.